First I'm going to take a look at this. It's a breakfast sandwich maker. Open up the box, there's the instructions, then slide it out and here's the unit. Oh wow, it's actually a lot smaller than I realised. The box says it toasts the muffin, melts the cheese, cooks the egg, and heats the ham or sausage all at once. That does sound impressive, so let's take a look. And there's a link in the description if you want to buy one. So as I said, it really is a lot smaller than I thought, but that's great because it means it's nice and easy to store. Lift up the lid, then we've got this next part which has got this cooking plate attached, which we can open out like this. It just slides across to open and close. Then there's another ring underneath, which sits on the bottom heating plate. These instructions seem quite comprehensive, which is good. And what's really nice is they also include a handful of recipe suggestions at the end. I'm looking forward to trying some of these out. Now what's really good is this whole assembly just lifts out to make it really easy to clean. I'm giving it a quick wash before using it. This part is also dishwasher proof, and the instructions say to just wipe the top and bottom heating plates with a damp cloth, and once it's all clean and dry, I reassembled it, then gave it a spray with a little cooking oil. This should stop it sticking, and I'm using some kitchen paper to make sure all the surfaces are lightly coated. Do both sides of the cooking plate, the inside of both of the rings, and I'm wiping over the top heating plate too. Then plug it in and switch it on. And while it's heating up, we can get our ingredients ready. I'm starting by chopping a muffin in half. I'm going to be adding an egg, a sausage meat patty, and a slice of cheese too. And once it's preheated and ready, the green light illuminates. So open it up, take the muffin, and place it on the bottom. Next I'm taking the patty. You have to add pre-cooked meat. This sausage patty was already cooked and I had it in the fridge. So place it on top of the muffin. Then I'm adding the slice of cheese on top. And when that's done, lower down the next ring and make sure the cooking plate is fully closed. Then take an egg, carefully crack it, and empty it out like this. The egg should completely cook itself in here. It does say to burst the yolk though, by giving it a little poke with a knife or something. Then sit the last bit of muffin on top. Oh dear, that looks a little bit awkward. Then just close down the lid. I'm really looking forward to seeing how well this works. It says to leave it for 4.5 to 5 minutes to cook, so we'll come back then, but next I want to show you this. This sounds amazing. It's a digital to-go coffee machine and it's got some really cool functions. Open up the box, and lift it out, and here it is. Oh, it seems really compact. Take off the bag, and it comes with its own thermal travel mug. That's quite smart. I like how it matches the machine. There's a little bit of packaging here, and here's the unit. It's pretty sleek looking, it's quite lightweight, and I love how it's not too big or bulky. It's not going to take up much space on the counter. Open up the top, and here's our filter for where the coffee will sit. This piece here is the filter basket, and here at the back is the water tank. And there's different indicators here to show you the water level. I do like this coffee mug, it's really smart. There's a slider on the cap here for drinking, and it's got this grippy non-slip base. And before I try using it, I'm washing the cup, the filter and the filter basket, and when they're clean and dry, plug the machine in and switch it on, and the display lights up at the bottom. It's really simple to set the time, just using this hour and the minute button. And the instructions say before we use it for making coffee, we should run the machine for 3 cycles first. So we need to fill up the travel mug, tip that out into the water tank, then place in the filter and filter basket. We sit the mug here on the base and turn it on. Just press the button. And very quickly, boiling water starts coming through. Oh, look at that, steaming away. You can just see it dribbling down into the cup. And after about 3 minutes, the whole lot's gone through. After it had cooled down a little, I filled it back up with some more cold water to do the second cycle, and in total I did it 3 times like it says, so hopefully that should remove any plastic smells or flavours that you sometimes get with these new devices. It should all be nice and sterile now with all this boiling water we flushed through. So now I'm going to try making my first coffee, and I'm going to make it into this yellow mug. So fill it with water, and tip it into the water tank. Oh blimey, I spilt some over the edge. It is slightly tricky to get the right angle to tip it in, there's not much room, and it may be better to use a jug. So I wiped it up, and now we're ready for me to take my ground coffee, and I just spoon some into the filter here. Place the mug onto the base, and what I'm really looking forward to trying is this, the program button. This is an automatic starting timer, so if I set it for a few minutes time, it should automatically turn itself on and start making the coffee. Let's see. Ah, there we go. It's turned itself on. It's making some noise, and here comes the coffee. Oh yeah, check it out. I love that timer feature. God, that's smelling great. And after 3 minutes, we've got our brew. That's really not bad if you think about how long it normally takes to boil a kettle and make a cup of coffee. Oh, that's nice. But let's see how easy it is to clean. Open up the lid. The filter easily lifts out. It's all nicely contained in there. To empty it, just give it a tap into the compost bin. That's emptied well, and I'm going to rinse it under some water. And wow, in just a few seconds it's clean. That's so easy. I'm really impressed with that, and I really like the fact that this machine doesn't use coffee pods. It's more environmentally friendly, and you can just select whatever ground coffee you want, or even grind your own beans. Or what's really nice is, if you prefer, you can even just put a tea bag in here, or loose leaf tea. And this timer feature is just brilliant. Before you go to bed, you can set it so that when you wake up in the morning, you come downstairs to that lovely aroma of freshly brewing coffee. Pretty cool, huh? I also love the fact it comes with a travel mug, so you can make your coffee directly into it, so you can literally get up and go with a freshly brewed coffee. That's just genius. So I definitely recommend this machine. The only one thing I did find which you need to be cautious of is the slide cover on the lid here isn't waterproof. So if you angle the cup or if it's shaking about, it will leak. But what a great product. I love it. Next I want to take a look at this. It's called Stir, and apparently it's an automatic pot stirrer. So I opened it up. Oh, and there's not an awful lot in the box. Guess these are the instructions. And this is the unit in here. This is the base part, this tripod-like thing. I think these 3 legs sit down on the base of your pan, and each leg's got a different type of blade on the bottom, which must be to help with the stirring effect. This unit here must be where the motor sits. And to open it, you untwist it and give it a pull. Ah, there we go. I'll need some batteries, and you can see there's a little switch here on the top, which lines up with the on and off button on the cover. So I grabbed 4 AA batteries and installed them, making sure to get them the right way around. So if all this side of the unit is just for the batteries, the motor must just be in this little part here on the end. So I slid the cover back over and twisted it closed, and let's try it out. Oh, there it goes. It's shaking around, and if I put it down on the table, oh yeah, it's really going for it. To turn it off, I guess you just press the button again. Oh no, it's increased the speed. Ah, there's 3 speed settings altogether. That's good to know. I guess we should put it onto maximum and see what it does on the table. Oh, blimey. Oh, it didn't like that much. It's turned itself off. I hope I haven't broken it already. Ah, no, it seems fine. But it's probably best not to put it on the table like that. What you're supposed to do is attach it to the base by pushing it down in. Then you can turn it on, and let's try this on the table. Oh, that's quite cool. Huh, it dances around the table a bit, and oh wow, it starts going the other way too. That's clever. And if I knock it up to the second setting, you can see it's a lot quicker. And number 3? Yeah, that's really motoring. Cool. Well, let's try it with some food. Of course, before you use it for the first time, you should give it a quick wash, just like with any gadget. But I'm going to try using it to make some porridge for breakfast. So I added in some oats and poured in some milk, then put the pan onto a gentle heat. Now let's put the stirrer in and see how well it works. Well, that's going round nicely. I've got it on setting 2 at the moment, and there doesn't seem to be any problems. It is really cool the way it reverses direction then goes forward again. I guess that helps with the overall mix. And also, I guess if something was caught on one of the legs and was dragging around with it, maybe the change of direction would release it. I do love porridge in the mornings, but you really do need to be stirring it almost constantly to make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. So if this thing works well, it could be a really handy gadget. But I am a bit worried, what's going to happen when the porridge starts to thicken up? And after a couple of minutes, when the porridge had started to thicken, sure enough the gadget started slowing down and came to a stop. So I quickly turned it off and removed it from the pot, because the instructions say the stirrer should always be moving. Otherwise, I guess it might melt. But take a look at this, the porridge actually looks really good. That's a lovely consistency. There's no burning or anything on the bottom of the pan, and I think that's worked really well. It's ready to serve. So it was quite successful for this. I tried it with some baked beans, and it worked really well with that. And I found it's really good for thinner things, like heating up some soup for lunch, and it worked really well with some custard to go with my pudding. But I wanted to try it out with something thicker, so I'm going to make a bolognese sauce. I started by cooking off some minced beef and some onions, then I added some tinned tomatoes. Although lots of cans these days have one of these ring pulls, so you don't need a can opener. You do still find tins which don't have these, so I want to try out this. This is an automatic can opener. Open up the box and slide it out, and it comes sandwiched between these 2 bits of plastic. But here's the unit. It is quite large for a can opener, but I guess it's got to have space for the batteries and the motor, and whatever mechanism drives it. So let's try it out. The cover slides off here, and this device also takes 4 AA batteries. Then just slide the cover back on, and let's see what happens when I press the button. Ha, cool, check that out. You can see it rotating here on the bottom. Turn it off and it does a small back turn and releases. Let's see how well it works. So it just sits on top of the can here, over the lip. Then press the button and, oh, look at that. It starts automatically rotating as it cuts off the lid. Wow. and once it's gone all the way around, I just press the button again to stop it, then lift off the opener, and the cap lifts off really easily. Check that out, it looks perfect. And one of the great things about this can opener is it leaves no sharp edges on the lid or on the rim of the can either, so it's nice and safe and you shouldn't cut yourself. Although I don't recommend rubbing your finger around to test it, just in case. Now apparently this little piece here is actually a magnet, and it should actually lift the lid off the can for you. So I'm just placing the lid back on and... yeah, that's what it should do. It sticks to the opener. I think initially the lid was still a little bit jammed inside the can, and the magnet just wasn't strong enough to lift it. But I wonder if maybe giving the can a little squeeze would help, so let's try it with this one. Again, the opener seems to work really well cutting the lid off this can, and when I stop it and lift it up, nope, it still didn't remove the lid. But now if I try with giving the can a little squeeze, there we go, off it comes. So maybe that's the trick. But what a cool little gadget, and certainly very useful if you struggle with a conventional can opener for any reason. But now, let's see how we get on with the bolognese sauce. Once I'd added all the ingredients and let it cook for a little, I was ready to try out the stirrer. You can see I've deliberately made the sauce quite thin, so hopefully the stirrer will work. I sat it in and turned it on, and no, even on setting 3 it just hasn't quite got the power. It really is trying, but it's just not strong enough to push around the pieces of meat. It does go back and forward a little bit, but it's definitely not giving it the full stir it needs. I think we'd be in danger of it stopping completely and maybe melting the gadget. So this gadget really can be helpful, although it has got its limitations, and you do need to be keeping an eye on it. But now it's time to look back at our breakfast sandwich. Lift up the top and, oh wow, that's looking good. Next, slide open this cooking plate to drop the egg down onto the bottom part, then lift up the ring. Oh, look at that, steaming. Lift up the second ring and, oh, there we go. I'm using this spatula to move it onto a plate. And check that out, that actually looks really good. You can see the cheese has melted. The only thing is the top of the muffin looks like it's sunk right down into the egg. They've both kind of cooked into one. If I open up the sandwich though, the cheese has melted beautifully, and it's thoroughly heated up that sausage meat. I'm adding a bit of ketchup and putting the top back on. And when I bit into it, oh yeah, that's so tasty. The only thing I did notice though is if we take a look at the egg and how it's cooked, there's just a very, very thin layer under the muffin. I think the weight of the muffin top has kind of squeezed the egg out to the side a bit while it was cooking. So we've got a kind of very thin layer here and a thicker section bulging out to the side. But thankfully I think I've got the solution. I found this pack of muffins, and if we look, you can see the diameter is actually slightly larger than the last ones we used. So I'm hoping it fills the compartment this time, which should stop the egg oozing around the side. And for this one, I'm going to make more of a lunchtime sandwich, using some cured ham and smoky cheddar cheese. And although I didn't have any issues cracking the egg straight in last time, it could have been problematic if some shell had fallen in. So I think it's probably safer to crack an egg into a bowl first to make sure it's all clean, and if you wanted to, you could also break the yolk and scramble it. So once the machine had preheated, I tried the new muffin size, and oh yeah, check that out, it's a perfect fit this time. Next I'm breaking up some of this ham and layering it in. Then adding a slice of cheese on top. Close down the next section. And I tipped the egg in. I love the way you can see it starting to cook immediately. And this time I'm going to close the lid down before adding the top muffin, just to cook the egg for a little bit first. Then after a couple of minutes I lifted it up. Then added in the top of the muffin to toast it for a few minutes. So when it's ready, here's the fun bit. Open it up and slide back the cooking plate. You can see it dropping down onto the next layer. Then lift it up. And finally lift up the bottom one. Oh wow, check that out, that's looking and smelling amazing. I'm going to slice it in half to see what we've got. Oh, check that out. I'm definitely not disappointed with that. This time you can see the egg has cooked a nice uniform thickness the whole way across. The muffin top hasn't sunk down into it. The cheese looks nice and stringy, and the whole thing smells just mouth-watering. What a great gadget, I definitely recommend it. But if you'd like to see these really cool gadgets, you can click on the link to see my video. Have fun, stay safe, and as always, thanks for watching.